Leading off on Fantasy Pros starts right now. I am Chris Welsh. That over there, that is Kelly Kirby, the wonky penguin. And we are ready to talk about some baseball on the 10th of August. Anything for the St. Louis Cardinals we're going to talk about. And we maybe just didn't hear a tiny bit. Oh, there's lots of stuff. There's call-ups. There's some bets. And there's more, Kelly. I know you're a Cubs fan. So there was a little bit of a little bit of happiness out of Miles Michaelis getting absolutely destroyed. I didn't mention him yesterday, right? I didn't talk about him at all.
I'm sure you didn't. No. Why would you have? You would have never suggested him. No.
It would be so silly to be like, hey, Miles Michaelis, I really kind of like this, maybe in DFS. Who would be so silly, Kelly? Not me.
I don't know. And that Cardinal stack did some phenomenal things for me last night too. It was pretty great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did, it's funny. They were like a 5-run implied. They did get 5 runs. The problem was they gave up 16 runs. So
they did.
Yeah, we had the right game. We had the right game where the stack was. It just didn't end up working out. Lots to get to and lots of fun, but maybe nothing more exciting if you were up late and you were watching a walk-off homer from the San Diego Padres, who've been a little bit, if you will, wonky lately in all of their big moves. Manny Machado walked it off in huge fashion. By the way, I don't remember who sent it. I wish I could find the tweet, and I'll retweet it if I can, but the Japanese coverage of that entire thing, it's electric. It's incredible. The call, really just like anytime you can get out of like States coverage, like English coverage, it's amazing and electric. Even, the sport itself is amazing. You go to Puerto Rico and stuff like that, but the call is incredible on the Manny Machado walk-off. Also, Juan Soto, first home run as a San Diego Padre. If you want some stats on it, 107.9 EV. And Juan Soto getting into action, and Padres, Kelly, starting to find a little bit of rhythm with everybody as Fernando Tatis Jr. is getting close, and we'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah, it's true. I wrote like a waiver wire article last week, and I mentioned like Jorge Alfaro because I was like, he might be the only piece left on waivers to grab from that lineup, but they are eventually going to hit like crazy. And I think, if he's in the bottom, he's going to kind of like lead off for that group. And I'm like, hey, if he takes a walk, they'll get him in. So
Alvaro's actually been a savior for me in a couple different leagues. I think at Tout and one of I don't remember what other league it was. It's a 2-catcher league. Oh, it was TGFBI. Alfaro was just one of those guys. I ended up like, well, let's move around. Let's move through catchers. Let's burn and churn. And he's been a guy to kind of hold the whole way through, making a lot more contact than he really ever did. Is people forget he was actually a Phillies prospect at one time. Then went to the Marlins. Power was always there, but all of a sudden he's just starting to hit for a lot more contact, and this is going to just make him exponentially more valuable with that insane lineup that's already there and even a little bit more injection that's coming.
Yep, absolutely. So if he's out there, grab him.
Please do. Fernando Tatis Jr. had a third rehab start, and it's going well. He went 2 for 2 with 2 walks in that third one. He's at AA San Antonio, hit a double into left field, and he was a leadoff man. And then that was in the top of the first inning. Then I believe he tripled in right. He was set to play outfield, and this was a part of a Roto World blurb if everyone wants to check it out. He was set to play in the outfield, which is very interesting to monitor, but then he got moved to shortstop as there was rain, and they only played 6 innings. And he played 6 innings there. So what's going on with Tatis is you got 3 games in, you're moving across both positions, which might be an indicator, I think, of the flexibility, because there's no reason to put Tatis out in the outfield if they were only going to play him shortstop. You just DH him. You don't even worry about it if you're not going to play him there. So I think it's going to start to show that they might move him around with that flexibility, which could be good for Kim, or look at it as like Drury Cronenworth. But 3 games in, starting to find his rhythm. He walked twice, if I didn't say that, with a couple of those hits, showing off a triple. Tatis is right around the corner, Kelly. And this is going to be a huge, huge boost for, like, I have a keeper league where I'm holding. I'm like 4th. I've suffered a lot of injuries, but I'm about to get that injection of Tatis back into my lineup, which is going to be huge. And a lot of us in category-based stuff are going to get that for playoff runs.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at him. He's the positional DeGrom, right? Yeah. Like you wanted him to be a cornerstone. He's not a cornerstone, but now here he comes at like the most perfect time. So yeah, he's going to be fun to watch. But I do expect Kim to stay in defense because of his defensive rating. So like I would expect Tatis not full time, but I think that it'll be more like I see him more DHing just so they can kind of keep that, especially depending on which pitcher is pitching.
I think something you could see as well, a lot of teams will implement this, where we might see Tatis in for the first 5 or 6 innings at shortstop, and then if you're going to have a defensive replacement, they'll then move Tatis maybe out into the outfield. They can move him out in the outfield. They've just created so much flexibility that Kim is still going to get some run, but like you said, it might be more defensive replacement than it is starting games. Here's a question. Rest of season, who would you rather have? I know this is 2 completely different positions, but Tatis or DeGrom? Who would you rather, these are big swing plays. If you're going for a fantasy run, we talked about it yesterday, a lot of people want to trade off DeGrom right now, even in redraft, which is fine. You could look at it the same way with Tatis Jr. Which one would you rather go into these last 6 weeks in a playoff run with? Obviously, need is going to play into it, but, in a vacuum.
Right. In a vacuum, I have pitching is my thing. I love pitching. I usually draft way too much of it, but I would rather have Tatis. Just give me the everyday versus the every 5 or 6 day.
It is going to be interesting to watch this whole thing. Baseball's going to be so much better, by the way, in like a week when DeGrom and Tatis are just back. Now, it'd be nice if Bryce Harper was back as well. We did get a little bit of news on him that when he returns, whenever the hell that is, he will solely DH. He's going to just DH, not play in the outfield, but there's really no timetable. It was already set to September, so I'm not really sure it's going to help anybody for real baseball, probably more playoffs. Shohei Ohtani feasts. Joins Babe Ruth as the only 2 players to ever hit 10 homers and have 10 wins in the same season. These are some stats you put up here. Pass Ichiro on all-time list for homers by Japanese-born players, and set the single-season career high in strikeouts at 157, and it is August 10th. Kelly.
Yes. Yeah. How many do you think he gets to?
I think he's going to get to, you know what? Look, I have always thought 200 was in reach, and that's part of are you talking about strikeouts, right? Not
yes, sorry. Yep.
I've always kind of thought that 200 marker was going to be in there, and boy, if he hits 200, how do you keep him off of that MVP? We don't need to do it every single show like we do. I'm looking here as we're talking. The projections, he's at one. So check us out. 157 is where he's at. If we go and look at whatever projection you want, I'll go in the middle. The bat has the second lowest projection between Zip Steamers, and it's at 63. So that is 220 strikeouts he would finish the year on, and he's also going to probably easily eclipse the 30 home run marker. He's bonkers. He's doing bonkers stuff, Kelly.
Well, and Go Cards just said in the chat, he also has 10 steals, which did Babe Ruth ever steal bases? But yeah, so he's just the all around. I would still, not to talk about the MVP race, but I just don't know how you keep him out of it. But
yeah, I like it. This is that whole hey, not to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. We'll consistently talk about it and keep going. He's so intriguing because when he's not pitching or not doing insane things, everyone's just kind of oh yeah, Aaron Judge. But as soon as Ohtani does something, everyone's like, oh yeah, there we go. I forgot. Ohtani is incredible. And talk about Babe Ruth too. We got a trivia question that is going to be tied to Babe Ruth here in just a tiny bit. So we'll talk about that. Josh Hader meltdown. This is something I forgot to put in. I should have kept that with the Padres. Meltdown in the 9th inning. Walked 3 batters, hit another, allowing 3 runs to score the tie in the game. And then Machado ended up doing his business. So a little bit dicey. And Seattle, they win 1-0 in 13 innings over New York, with just an insane pitching performance from Garrett Cole, Luis Castillo. This is part 2 of those. Luis Castillo made his debut doing that, and we did hit the K prop on Garrett Cole. Luis Castillo is absolutely, this is living up to everything that Joe and I had spent a lot of time talking about. This was every time Joe would be like, who do you think? And I would be like, Mariners or Mariners, got to get Luis Castillo. And it's working out swimmingly. And he looks like one of the biggest beneficiaries of anybody into this new destination. Luis Castillo looks phenomenal going head to head with Garrett Cole, Kelly.
Yes, he does. And he's kind of how it's always, I wonder what DeGrom's numbers would be if he picked up wins. I was always wondering what Castillo could do if he got out of that ballpark in Cincinnati. And so now he's in a place where he's kind of got more freedom, more to do what he does, throw his pitches, and not have to worry about, a pop-up leaving the yard. So,
well, in that first performance too, I mean, the thoughts of like, they designate it as like a sinker, hitting 98, that coming up 98 in the zone, that was always his thing. If you can get that change up and you can get that sinker going, I mean, he can do incredible things, and he's efficiently finding it. Like, I think his dynasty value, because we had Tyler Mahle, Luis Castillo, and Frankie Montas all traded, and Mahle's value is going to move a little bit up, but like Luis Castillo's might be one of the most impactful. I feel like we're going to get back to like, what is it, 3 years ago, Luis Castillo value talk when we're in drafts, where everyone's going to be like, okay, I want the elite guy. I want to get one of my elite guys. I want McClanahan or Burns if I can get that. But then everyone's going to be targeting Luis Castillo because of the destination, the run support. I mean, everything is working his favor. I really think he's going to be one of those big dynasty movers. Do you do a lot of, I don't remember, do you do a lot of dynasty baseball or mainly redraft?
Not too much. I mean, I do a lot of keepers, but not like, 40-person roster dynasty
like what,
type
4
leagues.
or 5 keepers?
Yeah, this year it's 10 for one of them, but yeah.
We need to get maybe a Fantasy Pros Dynasty League going with some of the cast and crew that come on here. It'll be great when August hits if we get Joe in it, because then Joe will just be focused on football and we'll just laugh as his team just falls down the rankings. We'll have a merry time. We'll just be laughing and just pointing at Joe, and it'll be great. So let's do that.
Anytime we can laugh and point at Joe, we're in.
Yeah, I did a podcast with I hadn't seen Joe, by the way, in like like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And we had essentially been seeing each other every single day for 6 months. And I saw him yesterday for the first time. And you guys got to see it if you're not watching the football pod. He did a football podcast with us on In This League. Purple lights now, looks like a YouTube streamer. I'm waiting for him to jump into a bathtub or something and just start like, he's doing weird stuff over there, and it'll be exciting when we get him back. We actually have him back, I think, the very last episode of the season. But let's stop talking about Joe. On the injury front, Joey Bart having an MRI in his right ankle today, so look out for that. Nelson Cruz left the game due to right shoulder soreness, or probably just playing with a bad team. Orlando Arcia is heading to the IL with a left hamstring strain, and Taylor Rogers got a cortisone injection into his knee. Speaking of Orlando Arcia, that is enabling us to have call-up time. So calling up the prospects just before the show, the Braves selected the contract of Vaughn Grisham, who is having a phenomenal year, and they are not afraid to be aggressive. Now, here's the thing you got to be careful about. You're going to immediately have the Michael Harris comp, because Michael Harris jumped from Double-A up to the majors and has been, maybe the biggest single riser from a dynasty or redraft perspective. Vaughn Grisham is also making a Double-A jump, and he's put up really great numbers, and it's a similar-ish profile. So just bear with yourselves. 14 homers, 27 stolen bases on the season so far, a 324 average, a 405 OBP, which you absolutely love to see. It's power, it's speed. The guy's always made really good contact. He's not a crazy strikeout option. And he's also young, 21 years old. Now, Miguel Vargas killed me with all the, I'm like, oh, Miguel Vargas is like an elite product. He's elite. He really is. And then the Dodgers are like, that's cool. See ya. We're going to send him down for Max Muncy and Cody Bellinger and Joey Gallo. We don't need this, even though he can do everything. Grisham is kind of in this same space where this is a great spot. He is the exact type of fantasy player that you want. You want to be aggressive on. The problem is, as soon as Arcia comes back, I think they're sending him down, Kelly, because I really see this continued manipulation of next year's roster stuff going on, where teams don't want to exacerbate the prospect eligibility. They don't want to lose that. They want to keep that going. So this would be even though this is one of the top type of guys that you want to go and spend on Fab because of what he can do from a fantasy game, I assume, and let me know what you think, that he's going to be limited to probably a 2-week stint, regardless of what he does with this Braves team.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily have room for him, with the idea that if they keep him up, how much is he going to play? How much is he going to start, get at bats? And then the manipulation of the service time, because when they come up, unless he just absolutely tears it up, in which case then maybe, because I don't see Arcia necessarily doing that when he gets back. But yeah, I think they'll keep him down.
Yeah, and it's tough because someone could be like, well, what if he's awesome? Miguel Vargas was awesome. He's hitting over 300, stealing bases, making hits, he could do all this stuff, and they still said, see ya. So Von Grisham is the same way here. Maybe you can get an injection for the next 2 weeks. There's nothing wrong with going and getting some stolen bases, maybe a little homer power if you've got some, empty roster space. Same thing I would have said with Bubba Thompson, even though he's striking out like crazy. Now he's a stolen base guy. Grisham is much better option. I've been asked a lot lately, like, who are the prospects you'd want to? No one really. There's no one really I'd want. If I'm speculating on Corbin Carroll, but I'm doing it for the back end of the year. So the Diamondbacks could play him in September if they want and not lose the eligibility. Grisham, I didn't even put on the table because the guy's in Double-A, but this is an opportunity for 2 weeks, but just be prepared that I think it's going to be relatively short-lived. This day in baseball, 1995, Ball night at Dodger Stadium turned into the first forfeit in the majors in 16 years. Los Angeles forfeited a game to the St. Louis Cardinals. After fans threw souvenir baseballs onto the field 3 times, the game was called with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th. I wish I remembered this. I don't at all. That's an incredible stat. You put that together, Kelly.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to write on there is, and this is why we can't have the tops of our water bottles anymore. Because they figured out, well, projectiles, probably aren't a great idea.
So people throw caps and stuff. What is this, Philly?
Yeah, at some point from one year, and I really think it was around this time, they started they take the tops off the water bottles and then keep them so that you can't throw them onto the field. And at one point they did that. I think the first time they did that to me, I was in the 300 section of the Metrodome.
And you're like,
it's I can't get it to the field, I promise.
Yeah, that I could throw it across the stadium. What are you talking about?
But I think the ball thing just blew it up. So yeah,
probably safe to say they've never done a souvenir ball night since.
No, absolutely. Right? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, hey, one thing ruins it for all. It's one time, and it's going to be like Philly. They're going to throw all the bobbleheads on, and then bobbleheads are going to be very dicey for the future. So look out for that. All right, here's a trivia question. And I didn't put it on here because I want Kelly to guess and everybody else. This is going to be kind of a 2-parter depending where you go. Here's a question. We talked about Babe Ruth. We talked about Shohei Ohtani and all of the changes. Which total is higher? Babe Ruth's career homers or innings pitched? Don't Google. Nobody Google. Homers or innings pitched? Famously, the pitching, I always thought the pitching was a little bit overblown with Babe Ruth, but he was a two-way player. Let's not get it wrong. Kelly, do you know this stat? Do you know this number? Which was higher, the home runs? Because we know the homer total is over 700. That's the one that everyone should have. So homers or innings pitched?
It's funny because I would have said homers right off the bat, but the fact that you're asking the question makes me want to go with innings.
It is innings pitched. Now, here's the thing. Can you guess I'll give you relative range. I'm going to give you, do you know the homer total? I got to be honest with you. If you would have asked me, I wouldn't have it immediately.
Was it 714?
It is. You nailed it. I probably would have been within on the innings. So we know it's higher. I'll give you within 50 innings, if anyone can guess. That's not Googling. Even in the chat or, Kelly, if you want to give it a shot and you don't get it, I'll be looking for the chat. So it's over 700. He had 714 homers. This kind of blows my mind because, like you said, I would have probably guessed, I think 500 innings is what my guess would have been. So now it's over 700. Give me a little guessy guess.
I would go with 870.
There's some interesting ones in here. Brian had 850. Jim's had 912. Biza Giza had 922. JP, you are all wrong. You are all incorrect. Keep going. Keep going higher. It is, you guys are, literally $1 above is going to keep you going. We are higher than this number. Let's see if any more guesses come in. You want to give it one more shot?
No, it just occurred to me though, they threw didn't one pitcher throw 14 innings at a time back then? So
well, when you throw
I probably overshot. Yeah.
When you throw 50 miles an hour, you can do it. Well, Brian is within 21 innings because he threw 1,221 and 1/3 innings, which is kind of wild. So it also brought me to this whole other thing. If you had to guess, what do you think will end up being more, Shohei Ohtani innings pitched or Shohei Ohtani homers when all is said and done? It's kind of hard to guess. that Shohei Ohtani is going to like continue rocking with the innings throughout his career. But if he keeps stacking, if he stacks like 3 or 4 good seasons, it's going to be impossible. But you could ask that question. I thought that one was a little bit fun, definitely more like trivia of who'd you rather, or you get both the answers than some of the ones we usually do. Stat heroes. Luis Castillo, we talked about 8, striking out 7. Garrett Cole, we hit that prop, 8 strikeouts in 7 as well. Shane Bieber continues to defy the velocity odds, going 7, striking out 8. Julio Urias had 8, and Brady Singer 6 strikeouts, 7 1/3. What do you make of Brady Singer? He has been so dicey. Our friend Nick Pollock, who's on the show, has been questionable with him. I think it's sometimes hard to believe the success. How much are you buying into these great starts that Brady Singer has been stacking together?
That's a dangerous question. I've told everyone I have a weird sort of love affair with Brady Singer right now. I literally went out and got him in, I think, everything but one league. So apparently I'm buying in. Then he went and blew up last week against the White Sox, and I was like, well, I'm an idiot. But then yesterday I was like, and we're back. So yeah, he's going to be that guy. But I like his age. I like the weird. I was going to say like kind of consistency in what I see from him mechanically, but the outcome, his ability to keep going deep in innings, I think makes Brady Singer at least interesting. So
ironically, I don't have any confirmed information on this, but I think from some of the stuff I saw in spring training, like physically in person, I think Greinke's actually been a good rub off for him. They spent a lot of time together. One of the days, I didn't go to Royals camp a whole bunch because the access is really tough, but I did go one day, and Greinke and Singer were just together. They were hanging, they were talking with another coach, they were together, they moved over here, they were together. And I kind of wonder, having that tutelage was something maybe that he needed to take that next step. Do you believe Singer is a must own beyond streaming for the rest of the way through? Obviously, if he gets lit up for 3 starts, anybody can be cut. But do you qualify him as like top-notch streamer or top-notch pickup?
I would say, again, depending on depth, I would probably still list him as a streamer for most leagues, most people. But if you picked him up, I would like high five you in a top-notch type of way. So cool. Yeah, I know I don't mean to waffle on the question, but I would. Okay, I'll just commit. Yep, top-notch. Have him. The problem is the innings. If they cap him, or anything in that line could make it a little bit harder. But I'm a Singer person.
And then we do high fives.
High five it. Let's do it.
All right,
perfect.
We just high five. Perfect. We got it. On the hitting front, Randall Grichuk 5 for 5 with a homer. All the Rockies were amazing. He scored 16 runs. Ridiculous. Keibert Ruiz had 2 bombs, 4 RBIs. Austin Riley, shout out to Bubba for the home run call. 5 RBI, big performance. Bo Bichette had 2. Michael Chavis had 2. CJ Cron, again, you had 2 Rockies players putting up just big stats. Cron needed this one. Prado had a homer. Juan Soto, we talked about. Brendan Rodgers, 4 for 5. Good Lord. Shohei Ohtani with a homer. Your stat zeros. This is the Miles Michaelis stat. 14 hits, 10 earned runs, and maybe the most amazing stat. You tell me. The most amazing stat in this is not the 14 hits given up, is not the 10 earned runs. It is that he almost went 3 innings. He went 2 2/3 with those. How do you even let him go that far? That is more incredible to me than the absolute garbage that he put up.
Yeah, well, you and I talked shortly before the show about how terrible it is as a fantasy player when you know your guy got rocked, right? And gives up however many runs in the first inning. And you're like, okay, well, at least they'll pull him.
Yeah.
And then for him, I was like, are they going to let him go? Are they going to let him try to get 3? And I don't know what their bullpen situation is, but oof, God, that was ugly.
I was saying before too, there's always these like handful of these each season where there's a team that's just like, screw it. We're going to just let this guy go out here. We need him to go a little bit further. And you get these monster blowups. I want to see, I don't want to do the research, but I want someone to spoon feed it to me. I want to see like the 5 worst pitching performances in a season over the last couple years. And I would love to see what the 19 season cut, or was it 20 season? That one's a little dicey. But I'd love to see like full season, top 5 biggest blow ups. Like how far did those guys go? How many hits? How many earned runs? How many homers? Just to like analyze that, because this has got to be one of the worst. It's a little bit of recency, but it's got to be one of the worst. And it was, of course, we talked about it. Yay. Martin Perez, 7 earned runs, not good himself, with 3 walks. Jose Urquidy got 5. Joe Ryan getting lit up a little bit, and Dwayne Underwood only went 1, giving up 4 earned runs. On the hitters, 0 for 7 for Lori Garcia in the doubleheader, had 3 strikeouts. Eugenio Suarez, who is not the number 5 overall player anymore on Yahoo over Jose Ramirez in points, 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. Hunter Renfroe had 3. Polanco had 3 strikeouts, and Javi Baez did a Javi Baez. That means 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Wonky, it is time that we look at the home run leaderboard, and my God, gentlemen, it is getting, ladies and gentlemen, it is getting a little bit stinky here, because Hi Cubby is moving away. He is getting bombs, and he is 3 up as the number 1 spot with 41 homers. D Blum and Mayer have 38. God, looking at Mayer on that is crazy. Night King, Terry, and Go Cards all with 37, and it drops off a little bit. I'm just not within distance, so I've had a good like last week. I don't know my official total number. I want to say I'm at 27 or 28. I just would have to have an insane run to get on this board. Title Chaser landed the double bombs with Bo Bichette. We said Cubby had there, and we have a home run call bonus. Kelly, I'm going to let you announce what the bonus is.
Okay, so I owe the Peanuts and Cracker Jacks an apology, because on 8-8, so far we've been doing this catcher bonus when the month and the day line up, and I even thought about it about 3 o'clock in the morning on 8-8. I was like, make sure I remember to tell Welsh this, and then I just spaced it entirely. So I figured, since we missed that date, I'll come up with a different one. We've talked about doing this one before, so for today only, if you are the only person to call a player who homers, you get a bonus point for each home run that they hit. So
just, if like, Josh Rojas hits it, I call it, I don't just get 1, I get 2.
Correct. So if you are the only one, then you double up. So it's kind of, see if we can get some people to call some out there guys. Obviously, you can keep calling whoever you want. You can call Judge, but you're only going to get 1. So, and my next one, I think on Wonky Wednesdays, I might just come up with one. I'm basically just trying to structure these so that Joe doesn't get them. So
you know what? I love that. Yeah, we should have Wonky Wednesday bonuses. I think that's a fantastic idea. It's great to have you making those decisions here, but that definitely is now making me want to switch up my home run call and look around, which I might do as we get through this. So that is very, very fun. I like that. And the home run contest getting very exciting over on Fantasy Pros. You get the Discord, and you can get in there. You can make your calls. You can do it daily, and maybe you can catch up. Maybe I can catch up. It's probably impossible. I think it was confirmed Go Cards that I got 27. I would have to go on a big old streak to just get on the board, but we'll see. We got 2 months. Nothing is out of reach completely. What does Joe have? Do we know that?
Joe, I think is at 32.
Okay, because it's not going to really be a huge win, but I definitely need to pass him. But him not being on, well, he is Aaron Judge for 2 months. I still think that's okay if I pass him. Like, I can victory lap that just like a tiny bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been with him not being here or anything like that. Friends, go and check us out over at BetMGM. Download the app, go to the website, and use the promo code leading off right now. You're going to get a $1,000 risk-free bet, and you can do whatever you want with it. And it's risk-free. Go and do it. Use our promo code support Fantasy Pros. And let's talk about a few props. I think we were like 2 for 2 yesterday. Actually, the K props, both K props hit, both total base did not. How we do it, I give you the top on the algorithm that is spit out over on Betting Pros on the prop cheat sheet, and then I give you 2. So theirs and my strikeout props both hit, total bases did not. What do they've got? What do they have? Paul Goldschmidt is your number 1 total base bet today, according to the algorithm over on Unibet. It's really juiced up at 157. They're projecting 3.5 total bases. You get 1.5 at -157. So, their strikeout bet, this is on DK. It's almost even money. Jose Barrios, they're projecting over 6. The number is at 4.5. It's -105. I don't mind that against Baltimore. I've actually got 3 bets for you today. 2 I feel probably a little bit better about. Those are my total base ones. I am a masochist, and I'm going Jose Quintana at Colorado because the number is at 3.5. It's almost even money, projected at 4, had 7 in his debut. I like him on the Cardinals, and I'm going to go down with the ship if he just gets lit up again. So buyer beware. Jordan Alvarez on total bases. Really like this one today. It's plus money at plus 110, projected at 2.5. You get plus 110 at 1.5. And Vlad Guerrero, minus 113, projected at almost 3 at Sugar House. Kelly, what do you like out of those? You've got Goldie total bases, Jordan Guerrero, and then you've got K props of Barrios and Quintana.
I'm with you on Quintana, only because of the whole, you have that memory that when a team scores 16 runs the next day, they usually suck, right? So you're kind of like, well, he also has looked good, and the Rockies are the Rockies. I'm a big fan of Alvarez today, so I would take the plus 110 on that one, I think.
Okay, sweet. So you're with both of mine. So there you go. If you guys want to make some bets, do it. BetMGM, promo code leading off. Just the quick run through on some starting pitchers. DK was missing some info. Taijuan Walker looks like a really good one at 8.4. FanDuel, here's some prices. Verlander's 11.3. Alcantara's 11.2, Barrios is 9.2, and Taijuan Walker's 8.4. Your stacks on implied totals. I believe Houston actually had the highest implied run total today at over 6. Houston, Toronto, and the Mets are a couple teams you can look at if you're stacking. And that leads us to the home run call. This is the Wonky Wednesday pick where if you're the only one to call one, you get an extra point. So what are you doing, Kelly? How are you going to do this?
So I'm going to stay in Toronto and in Colorado and do exactly the opposite of what I just said.
Okay.
So Charlie Blackmon is 8 for 13 with a home run, a double, and an OPS of 1.538 against Quintana. And I just assumed not very many people would go lefty, but if someone does, I guess I'll change it. So,
and you know what's tough too about this for you and I? This specific one is almost impossible, I think, for you and I to take, because anybody leading up to the games can then just go in and one person puts it into the, there's a bot in there where you call your home run call. We're kind of screwed. So it's almost counterintuitive for us to even attempt that one. And I was going to, Go Cards brings up one. Von Grisham actually would have been like a really good one. I'm not going to screw around because I'm going to get got. I'm going to go with my original guy. I'm going to go with Vladdy. I'm going to go with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. today. Let's just get on the board. Let's get those numbies up. I'm 5 away from Joe, and hopefully I can make a little bit of a pass and a run here. You can find Kelly on Twitter at the Wonky Penguin. Did you say you just had an article drop over on Fantasy Pros? Was it a waiver wire article?
Yeah, I did. I did both a waiver wire article and a streamers article over the weekend. So
okay, so go
and I updated my prospects. I was going to have you take a look at them to see if I was anywhere close.
Oh, I would actually like to see it. What is the prospect like? Is it prospects to pick up, or is it an overall list?
No, I just did my rankings on the platform at Fantasy Pros, so I think they're available online somewhere. But I'll send them to you.
That is very cool. And if anybody cares, over at inthisleague.com on the Patreon, I just released my top 500 prospect list update, which also has a top 400 dynasty update, and in the next week a top 200 prospect ADP. I will finally have all the data from multiple drafts I ran. And if anything, you might care about it as like a value system of what do analysts, a bunch of analysts and really hardcore dynasty players, how do they value prospects? And I think it's kind of a cool thing. So you can check that out over at inthisleague.com. Go and check out Kelly's stuff here at Fantasy Pros. Follow her on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at @IsItTheWelsh. And friends, that is it. I've got David Mendelson coming on tomorrow from Triple Play Fantasy. The D Mindy is coming on, and we will have so much fun. Friends, that is it. Thank you guys for hanging out. Good luck on all your calls. Let's just cross our fingers Quintana doesn't give up 16 runs, so we got to do this all over again. For Kelly, I'm Welsh. We are out of here. Bye, friends.